Hello. Welcome to this week's episode of the Let Me Ask You This podcast. I'm your host, Evie Hepworth, and I start every episode off by saying this, but I just want to say thank you for being here. You could be anywhere and you're choosing to listen to this conversation, and I want you to know that it's not lost on me. It means the entire world. And so thank you. It is my prayer that these conversations really do invite you to behold Jesus in a fresh and tighter way. This week's guest is a dear friend to me, Chelsey Taylor. This friend I don't even know where to start with how much this friend means to me. She has been such a safe place for my heart over the last 5 or 6 years. She is the type of person, in fact, I texted this to her a couple weeks ago, but I was like, Chelsey, you have such an uncommon ability to make people feel like they are the most important person in the world. She will give you your full presence, her full attention to not only you at a table in a conversation, but she's a connector. So she'll hear you talk and she'll be like, oh, I need to introduce you to this person and this person. And I think it's one thing to be generous with resources and your, attention, which she is all of those things, but she is so generous with just the different relationships that she's built. And the longer I live, the more I learn that it's not normal for people to say, I want to introduce you to this person, and then you need to meet this person. And that is what Chelsey does over and over and over again. She is so selfless in every corner of her life. And so Chelsey is an absolute animal when it comes to corporate and huge events. I will totally butcher it if I try and communicate what it is that she does, but she is a attention to detail angel. I mean, she has an ability to come into a space and make it so breathtaking and, again, allow people to experience a full event or whatever room they're walking into with such excellence. And so this friend means the world to me. And she's one of my friends that we'll sit down and we just start talking about the dreams in our hearts and the things that we want to see God do in our lifetime that we may see, we may not. And whenever we talk, we just always talk about, like, what do we do with the desires in our heart? How do we surrender these? Whatever the desires may be, her and I have no lack in dreaming. We are fellow dreamers. And so what do we do when we have desires? And we believe in the kindness of God, but we're not always seeing these desires play out in the way that we had hoped or imagined. And so that's what this conversation's surrounding: desires and the bridge of trust. And what do you do in that in-between time? And so this friend is just a well of knowledge. And I know that you are going to love this conversation. So without further ado, here is my conversation with my dear friend, Chelsey Taylor. You have layers to you. There's so many things that you spend your days doing. There's so many different seasons that you've lived. But for somebody who doesn't know who Chelsey Taylor is, will you give us a little snapshot into how you spend your days and just kind of the current season of life you're in?
Yeah. I'm either in an airplane or feeding my sourdough starter. I feel like I live in extremes and I never
It's
know the
so
time
true.
zone I'm on. So there's that.
And
I
tell the listeners why.
Yeah, I produce events
Okay.
as my job, and how I spend my time. I live and breathe hospitality. I think I remember feeling like I loved the verse, better is one day in your courts than 1,000 elsewhere, because I was like, wow, that house must be amazing. And the experience must be amazing for even somebody like David to say, I'd rather be a doorkeeper. Who wants to
So
stand at a
true.
door all day? But I just remember thinking about that, and grew up in a home where experience and storytelling and hospitality was just the bread and butter of the house. And so I've always been in events. It's ranged, but I definitely spend a lot of time on the road, where the clients are doing conferences to retreats or executive experiences or dinners, galas, you name it. I love to bring people together and design experiences. So that's what keeps me on the road. That's what keeps me a little bit homeless, if you will. But when I'm not doing that, yes, I rush home, drop my suitcase, feed my sourdough starter, and then try to do something like at home. So I'm equal road and home body, I guess would be the way
And
to.
where is home?
Good question. Home where my couch and bed are, home where my suitcase is, home where my family is.
I
I
know,
would
so
say the
true.
Northwest, born and raised in the Seattle, Washington area. Got to live in Boise, Idaho for a few years, where I got to meet you, spending a little bit of time near my nieces and nephews in Bend, Oregon, and waiting to see what's next.
Amazing. All right. And are you single? Are you dating? Tell us that.
Yes, the beloved question. I am single. I am trying to date again. Like, I think anyone who's single knows you flip between, wow, I'll get on the apps. I'm feeling good today. No, I hate this. And the phone goes out the window into the river. But I also have taken like a new stance on looking for arrows instead of answers and being vulnerable with people about like where I'm at, which has maybe for later on a conversation about shame and acknowledging that I'm single. Like, this is so embarrassing to just like say that because you have to face it. And that carries shame for me that I'm not where I thought I would be or where I think I'm supposed to be. I'm missing something, I'm forgotten, I'm unseen. All of those things start to unravel. But I really am looking for the arrows. When I meet somebody who, okay, fun story. I was at a conference and met this 19-year-old guy who he could be my son. So let's get that out there. And he
That's
became like
so
my new
great.
best friend. He is literally like,
Stop.
he said something along the lines of, oh, my friend just paid me $1,000 to find their spouse. And I'm like, are you in school? Like, what do you mean? And he's like,
Tell
and I
me
go,
more.
I'll pay you $5,000 to find my spouse. And he goes, yeah, deal. And I was like, oh, okay. So within about 30 minutes, I had 2 new phone number text messages in my phone. He's like,
Amazing.
hey,
What
I
an
heard I'm
angel.
supposed to meet you. And I'm like, who is this?
He's
And
like,
so
I just
then I
got
had to
Venmo
backtrack.
$2,500
Yeah,
to take
like a
you to
Venmo
dinner.
request. Well, then I went back to this guy who like literally is my new favorite person. He is just out there in the world. He lives on the other side of the country. And he's like, so how's it going today? I have another one for you.
Stop.
But
Oh my gosh,
what's
what a
crazy,
broker.
I know I had to say, so could we make the arrangement that my husband will pay you all this money at the wedding? He's like, deal.
Oh my gosh,
Anyways,
that's amazing.
say all that because it's like just this arrow moment. And then I was connected with this woman who does matchmaking service. And I was like, I don't know about that. But she's a believer and she actually lives where I grew up and is just as frustrated for her friends as anyone would be, as all of my friends have been. And so
Totally.
it was like, okay, I'll do this. And it just felt like
Yeah.
an arrow. It's not an answer. It's may or may not be a thing, but it's an arrow. And so I think I'm just chasing the arrows in the singleness. Yeah, that has been the Achilles to my adult life. And obviously one of the things that has brought just severe pain and frustration and discontent and honestly like a cancer to my body in seasons, if I'm being honest.
Yeah. I think a lot of people listening will hear what you just said and be like, wow, finally somebody said it. Because I
Yeah.
think, and you probably went through this cycle of grief where you're just like, everyone tells you the same thing. Once you stop looking, then he'll come out of nowhere and and just all of the cliches, but cliches will always fall when they're not going to hold when you're holding ashes, right? So
Yep.
I want to kind of go there. I want to start there because I get a
Mhm.
lot of requests, and I told you this before, a lot of requests for people who are single and really, really like, what do you do with this desire when it's so natural? It's such a pure desire. And like you said, that invitation of shame is so normal. Like you instantly introspectively assess what's wrong with me. And in it, all of the questions that we know are not healthy or aren't like, but it's like, that's where you go, right? And so I kind
Yep.
of want to start there is how you mentioned that comment around shame. How, like, gosh, there's so many different questions I could go from this, but I guess my first question is when it first starts to dart at you and you notice that you're getting some fires of shame kind of darted at you, how do you combat that with the truth of the Lord? Like, what do you do when hopelessness really does start to create that mold in like how you're viewing life and
Yeah.
God?
Yeah. Well, 50% of the time I run to my bed and under my covers
So
or I
real.
sit on the shower floor, and just cry. I think that that's part of the issue is when it comes, we're almost meant to know what to do every time or think that it's the same thing works every time. Or if because then it becomes another shame spiral. Well, if I could just get into the word instead of hide under my covers, then I would battle this. If I could just pray harder, if I just would be more obedient, if I just put myself out there more, then all of this would go away and I would do a really good job surrendering. And I think most of the time I fail at surrendering. I think most of the time I fail at combating the darts. I think that it truly requires me to like go in a corner, settle down for a second, and think about it as like a dragon fight. That's kind of the way I have to approach it in my mind. Or like there's a spider loose in my house and I am not going to sleep until I've caught the spider and the spider is outside of my house. But to me, it's been like this spider hunt. Like,
Hmm.
where's the dragon in my mind? Get it out and don't stop until it's out. I think too, it's taking the fight seriously. I think for so many years, like decade, I would not take the fight seriously. I would let my brain and house become the devil's playground. I just would surrender my house.
We all
I
do
would
that.
correct. But like for somebody who lives and breathes hospitality and home, and when someone comes over, the experience that I want them to have, and the extent I will go to ensure that they are comfortable, that my house is clean, not as a result of like, look what I can do and look at the beautiful home that I have, but like, I know the sensation of rest and peace. And I would never let a friend come over with stuff all over the counter, spiders all over the floor, dragons in the closets. Like, you just wouldn't do that. You would allow them to see your mess, but a mess is very different than like casualty in war. And right, the dragons that are in there that then potentially could poison them. Mold, I mean, is the perfect example, right? It became and still is this thing that I can't always see, that I feel, that's raging in me, that's destroying me, that's hurting my immune system. And so I think that there's this element of like taking it seriously, remembering the battle, getting the devil out of your house, getting the spider out of your house, and not resting until it's out, and not laying in the trenches. I mean, I would lay there. I just would
Yeah.
lay there as defeat.
Yeah.
I give
It's
up.
exhausting. Yeah, it's exhausting fighting dragons. I get
Yep.
it. Well, and so for somebody who's like, okay, Chelsey, I want to take dragons seriously for the sake of the metaphor. When you say that, what do you mean? Like you're saying maintenance, you're saying these things. How does someone take the fight seriously when they're
Yeah.
wrestling for hope, when
Yeah.
this desire is stagnant?
Yeah. And I think it's practical in the sense of get in the corner, like face the wall and start literally taking every thought captive. It really is as simple as that. I think that's one practical thing. I think inviting people into the mess, no matter how many times you have gone and called that friend, it's embarrassing. It feels shameful. You're going to feel all the things, but like we cannot do it alone, and we weren't designed to do it alone. And we have to say, like, please get in the corner with me, or please introduce me to friends that are in the same season of life so that I know I'm not alone, that I can relate. I mean, there's nothing more than the gift. And this goes back to even just like arrows. There will be times where I will be in the middle of another country, lonely, on the road for work, exhausted, 2 weeks in, another 2 weeks to go. And I will meet another girl, single, traveling believer, or sometimes non-believer. I was just in Nashville and I was in the corner in my mind, needing to show up for a conference. Got up and was like, I've got to go. I've got to do something. I cannot put on the headset and produce a show today. And just was driving and literally saw in the corner, like this coffee shop called Steadfast on the corner of Taylor Ave, which is my last name. And
God loves to speak to you in
that
those ways.
stuff, I know,
Yeah.
because I could name off like this summer I broke down on Valley Chapel Road and Mount Hope, and then like Dea Gloria Avenue and Confidence Street, which was also in a town
Just
of
so you know, that kind of stuff does
Yeah.
not happen to me. So God's
Yeah.
speaking to you.
Like Confidence Street in town of confidence, and then the population was 50. I'm like, yeah, fitting, makes sense. I can't live here.
That's
But
amazing.
the idea that it's like looking for those arrows and asking for the tangible things. Please put my name on the lips of a friend, have somebody call me, like, let me be the memory of somebody. Let them think of somebody that's like, hey, I really want you to meet this person. And
Mhm.
it's also going back to the gospel, right? I mean, at the end of the day, I think it was, don't quote me, I think it was at the end of the Narnia books where C.S. Lewis said something like, and so begins chapter 1, like at the end of the book. And so to really like hone in on the fact that like, whoa, 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 like everything you just thought you lived is just the, what, the beginning? Like it
The
was not even
preface.
chapter
Yeah.
1. Yeah,
Yeah.
you're the
That's
author.
wild.
What is that called? Which was crazy to me. And I just think about that, the reality of like, this isn't my home, and the juxtaposition of my heart for hospitality. And also, this is not my home,
Yeah.
and eternity. And
Yeah.
saying at the end of the day, this is momentary, this is fleeting, and this is momentary. Just
Mhm.
a blip, right? That's it. And so that would be another just like reinforcement of the reminders that, I mean, I have a list in my phone of all the things that's like, you are with me wherever I go. You will
Yeah.
provide because of who you are.
Yeah.
You do not grade me on my decisions. You do not say I'm unvaluable because I'm not married. You are not a god of one location. I just ran into, I don't really fangirl much, and I honestly never know who anybody is. So that's just how it goes. But there's this like amazing homeschooling family that I love from the South, and they were literally in the Seattle airport. And I like lost it. I was like, and I just was like, but I had this moment, and it wasn't about them, but I was like, God can do anything. He can
Yeah.
literally cross my path with
Yeah.
anybody in any moment at any time. I think the first thing out of my lips were like, how are you? What are you guys doing up here?
Yeah.
They're like out rural Atlanta. They don't come here. And so that was another thing, right? Like he can change everything in an instance. And is like the instance going to be tomorrow? Is it going to be in a week? Is it going to be in a month? But also like the instance, he can also change my heart in an instance.
Yeah, I was just gonna
Same,
say that.
same, right? It's not just
Yeah.
circumstance. Like we long for that, but it isn't just circumstance.
Yeah, and I think that there's this I know I fall into this trap often where I will measure my hope based off of what I have, the
Yeah.
tangible, right? We all fall into that.
Yep.
And we forget that hope is hope because of the cross and in a death that was paid. And so
Yeah.
it's and it's you can say that now and it like I understand someone listening to that I'm not trying to spiritually bypass a hopeless
Yeah.
heartache when people
Yeah.
are in the pit that
Yeah.
but we all will tend to do that. We'll think hope is correlated with certain feelings. I should feel happy. I should feel grateful. And I'm glad that you even brought up the whole like the shame cycle of like, oh, I should just be in my word and then I wouldn't feel shame. I
Yep.
should just be going to church and worship and then I wouldn't feel the
Mhm.
ache of loneliness because I'm
Yeah.
not married. Oh, if I could just suppress this desire, surely God could like and it's just this like all we're trying to do is get out of the heavy feeling that comes with desire. Like desire is all it is can be all encompassing.
Yeah.
It is a lot. And so I am saying that with the awareness of like I understand I think we're so uncomfortable with being uncomfortable, right? We want to run away and there's a lot of shame with lingering in the uncomfortable, right? Like that Chandler
Yeah.
says comfort is the god of our generation. We just want to like and so
Mm.
what would you say to the person who is like, "Okay, I hear you I'm relating to Chelsey, like, I wanna have this maintenance, I wanna be in the Word, I wanna, like, equip myself so I see arrows, I want to be able to, like, plug into community." Chelsey, am weary of waiting for a husband. I've been waiting for 35 years, whatever it may be, like, I am weary. What do I do with this huge thing that I
Yeah.
want.
Yeah. I wish there was this black and white answer because I feel like my closest friends, you included, have come to me before, like the question of what do you need? How can we support you? And then that becomes this like, sometimes there just isn't anything. And sometimes it is just doing the next thing. I wish that I could say that, I'm always able to like muster myself out of it or that it doesn't come back, I mean, it
Totally.
does and it comes in waves. And I think people want to collectively help in a lot of ways. And offer solutions and suggestions, and that almost like amplifies the weariness because now there's like things to do that are making you weary. And there's like this image that I always get sometimes in the midst of this. It's like I feel like I'm this like truckload standing on toothpick legs when like the weariness comes, and you just like it doesn't hold it. And so there's moments where I have to pause and say, like, what needs to be strengthened? Like which leg is it? Which muscle is it? Like where's the toothpick here in this particular moment?
Yeah.
And I think too, it's really believing the things that even our married friends and the mentors and spiritual advisors in our lives will tell us. Like, I am so thankful to have friends that come along me and say, it is not greener on the other side. There is
Yes.
still longing. There is all of the things still exist.
Choose your
And
heart.
yep, there is the weariness is over here too. So
Yes.
if it's same, equal in a lot of ways, okay, then like let's rest with some of that, I also think that in a healthy way, you have to acknowledge what's becoming an idol
I'm
and
so glad you.
where is he saying, hey, replace
Yeah.
this,
Yep.
and also like, hey, I have things for you to do. So keep doing the next thing. Like many a questioning, many a fear, right? Do it immediately. Do the next thing. Like there's like this, I don't even know. I think it was Elizabeth Elliot that is being given credit for that thing, this phrase of like, do the next thing, like just do the next thing, right? Because sometimes there is not an answer and there's not anything to do. And I will say there's elements where you have to face like, and this is like what I'm walking through right now, like the ugliness of my sin and the disobedience of how long I've avoided walking away from what's not good and pleasing and what he has because I don't trust what could come or not come,
Yeah.
that would still be better. And so sometimes like, man, he's going to take us around and around and around and keep teaching us the same lesson, over and over again and saying, hey, strip that idol, strip that idol. Like we're not going anywhere. I really can't do anything with this. There's not room for this until you trust
Yeah.
me. And I think I've learned that in all the times I said I've surrendered, or in many of the times I've said I've surrendered, or many of the times that I'm like, okay, I trust you, I do it for a month. I do it for 4 months. And then I'm like, oh, he hasn't come yet. So can that back? It's mine. I'll be in charge again because you didn't do anything. And
Yeah.
that's a hard place to then say, shoot, like I need
Yeah.
to now start over and
Yeah.
give it back, And sometimes I do think like there's this preserving he's doing. I confuse being overlooked with being preserved. I
Mm.
confuse not being chosen with being hidden or being anonymous right now. And
That's
that's,
so good.
yeah. That's gut-wrenching because if I'm sitting there and I'm honest with myself, I'll feel overlooked, but he's like, I'm preserving you. Or I'll feel forgotten and he's like, nah, I've kept you anonymous right now for a reason. And if I can do it for these people and I can do it for your friends, and you see me actively at work, providing and being clever with the ways that he shows up, or all the little God winks that we see, like, why am I making myself the exception? Like, now that's a form of pride, to say, well, you do it for them, but I'm the exception. You're never going to do that for me. That's the enemy. And that's my sin. That's
Yeah.
now saying like, yeah, prideful me over here. I know you do it in my work and you've always provided jobs, but you've never provided him. So therefore, I don't have, the check mark that says you've done it. Like I don't have your track record in that area. So therefore I'm at a crossroads where I better say, well, then I can't trust you for anything because you're either true or you're a liar. So pick your choice, or pick your way, Chelsey. Like he's either a liar in all things or he's truthful in all things. And so, yeah, I think that's the hard part, is getting to the root of it. And it's not to say that he owes me anything. I think you have recently talked about this idea of a vending machine God. I mean, I'm definitely that person that's like, do. I'm doing really good over here and I'm
Yeah.
really loving you and I'm serving the people around me. And, I'm doing all the things and I'm holding out, for all the things, but you're not delivering. And
Yeah.
there's a balance to being able to say, "Hey, Lord, like you gave me this desire. So I will laugh at what's to come because I trust you." Right?
Come
Like
on.
you've got it. You put
Yeah.
this desire in me. You
Yeah.
fix this. Like I don't need to do this. This is your
Yeah.
problem
Yeah.
versus expecting those things because what? He doesn't promise that. And there is no guarantee. And that is the hard part is okay, if there's no guarantee, then what? Right? That's where a lot of I think still girls go. It's like, well, what am I supposed to do? I'm jarred at every corner. The same way a woman who can't get pregnant is, going to be triggered and sometimes has to step out of attending, the 75 baby showers that probably are on her calendar in that first year of her worst struggle, right? Like, I don't know. I think I've been to 32 weddings in the last like adult couple of years. I mean, I've been a bridesmaid like over 25 times. And,
100%. Yeah.
like it's a battle to rally
For
up and
perspective.
yeah,
Yeah. I
like
mean,
I am not in my 20s in sitting here saying, like in a year or two, like,
well,
the
and
pain is real at all ages. That's the thing.
yes.
It's the same, but I'm speaking from a place of like the wait has been long. I felt like I was given a word from the Lord 10 years ago that he said it'll be worth the wait. Like that was 10 years ago. That wasn't 2 years ago, like that is a distant memory and is, has a 1% chance of believing it in real time now because it's been so long, right? It's dusty.
Yeah. Yeah. It's dusty. And I think it's, like you said, we have this ability to put something at the altar and then run right back and go snatch it right back up. And kind of going back to what you were talking about with this idea that God is holding out. He did it for them and that you're the exception and just this inner dialogue that we unintentionally do. And this idea, we don't, and like you were kind of pertaining to the vending machine comment, what we don't realize when our life doesn't unfold the way we thought it would, and you are sitting in stagnancy or what you feel like is delay, which is translated as denial. You're looking at it and you're like, clearly, I'm being denied this thing that I want. It is so easy for hopelessness to slip on in. And what's so sneaky about hopelessness, I have learned, is it wraps its claws around the imagination of what God could do, how he could move, who he is.
Yeah.
It masks itself as wisdom of, okay,
Yep.
if you just protect, then you won't risk having your heart broken again. You can't handle any more disappointment. And so you feel wise. Like you feel like, well, no, this is like, it's been, I'm 42. And so it's at this point, like, and it's really interesting. But what's crazy is you look at something and you look at it by the fruit, and the fruit of hopelessness is toxic.
Yep.
And that's when you start to notice this inner dialogue of, okay, God's holding out on you. You are, no, this is the reason why. If you were just fix these, and it just gets into me, what I can do in my own strength. And something I want to touch on you is it's not only the surrender of this dream of companionship that you have to grieve. It's everything that comes with it. It's this
Yep.
dream for what you imagine it for a family. It's this dream for a million things. And so it's like, this is the gateway to other dreams that you're like, Lord, what do I do with this? This is a lot. I have a lot of love to give. And some days are graced and beautiful, and some days are heavy and hard. And learning how to bring your honest daily ache to the Lord, like in the secret place of like, dang,
Mhm.
Lord, today I'm struggling. So
Yeah.
for someone who is listening to this and they're like, today is my hard day. I dropped it off at the altar 15 years ago and I picked it right back up and it is heavy.
Yeah.
What would you say to the person that's like in the middle of grieving not only this quote delay, but also all of the other dreams that are attached to that thing?
Yeah. I think we have to remember that like as holy as God is, like he's a father. And I know not all of us have, the perfect example of like an earthly father. And, some of us were fortunate enough to. And I think sometimes again, I am of the latter where I've been very, very fortunate. And I often will think like, but my dad loves me. And I think that the true mark of being a Christian is knowing that you have a father first. And the only people on earth that can experience the father's peace are Christians. And so there's an element of remembering like first, like I have a father and he sees me and I am being preserved versus overlooked. There's definitely the reinforcement of, again, going to war with your mind that is active. It is just active. You don't get to just sit there and expect the war to end. The shots will keep coming and coming and coming. And, you touch on hopelessness, and that breeds despair. And then we're really living in kind of this hole of despair and sin and hopelessness that becomes a war, feels near impossible. And like we've talked about, it becomes cancer, it becomes mold, it requires, the ultimate of detoxes. And I think what I keep trying to do is go back to the things that I know, go back to the things that I can do, go back to the people that are in my life, that I can love and serve. I just watched, I don't know if this is a good plug or not, but it was super cheesy, goofy on Netflix. They did like the Ruth and Boaz story. It did force me to just go back to the scripture and read that story and think about, like,
Yeah, it's so
Ruth,
good.
what was she doing?
Yeah.
What was she doing? And I'm not even going to answer that because I feel like everyone just needs to go back and read the story. But like, she
Yeah.
wasn't chasing anything. She was being positioned. Like the Lord did that, and her story and, again, what she was found doing with her time is what we all need to think about. And what can I be doing with my time? Whether it at first is like occupy yourself, get busy, get in community, serve others, like keep pouring out despite how you feel, right? That's a whole other topic that we could talk about as women. Like our feelings can really lead us astray and can really be a source of sin in our lives. And to measure that and to reel those in is really difficult, and to not be governed by them is really
Yeah.
difficult because there then goes and follows our heart, as we know. And so I think that on those hardest days, right, it's asking people to come alongside of you. It's speaking it out. It's getting on the floor in the shower if you have to, or face down, and letting the Spirit, intermediate for just your tears. And sometimes it's taking a nap. I think sometimes we just have to like say, time out. Hold on. This is a lot. I'm going to handle this poorly, or this is going to start to spiral. So I'm just going to take a nap for 30 minutes, for an hour, and giving yourself permission to do that. I think then I wake up and I still feel what I feel, but it's a little less heightened, right? And again, it goes back to doing all the things you know to do, as practical as they sound: taking the walk, lifting weights, drinking electrolytes, like cleaning up the
It's
food.
more spiritual than you realize, right? There
Yeah,
is a spiritual component to taking care of your body
there
and
is.
your mind, of
Yeah.
course.
Yep.
And I mean, I literally just finished a study on Elijah this week. So it's funny you say that. Every time I read it, I'm like, dang, why am I not? I mean, it blows my
Yep.
mind.
Yep.
And what stood out so much, there's two things that the Lord really highlighted these last 2 weeks while I've been studying them. Is, I mean, everyone always knows the famous nap, like he took a nap. But the thing about Elijah, the very first time that he's mentoring Elisha and Elisha's following him, I don't know why the Lord highlighted this just this week, but the first thing he does is invite him how to serve people at a table. That's his first thing as a teacher, of teaching the new prophet behind him how to, is like, and then the other thing that is blowing my mind, and I've always been blown by this, but when it's like he wasn't in the fire, or
Yep.
he wasn't in the wind, he was in the stillness. The idea that we look for God in these huge things, and the fire and the da 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 da,
Totally.
and it's like the stillness and the simplicity of, what if God wants you to
Mhm.
slow yourself down enough that he
Yeah.
just has to whisper?
Yep.
Like,
Yeah.
it is so spiritual to slow down.
Yeah. And the meal was provided for him, right? By the
Yeah.
birds or the crows. Like even that, right? I mean, we could go on and on
Elijah's, yeah, he's got
about the
so much.
provision, it being in
Yes.
by this like barren river, barren, like desert, dry riverbed. I mean, yeah, we've talked like that was like my move to Boise at times. Like, what
Yeah.
is this
Yeah.
time running from your life, right? Laying down. And then I remember, like, how does this end? How does this story end? I'm like, okay, he's fed, he takes his nap, all the things. And then I'm like, he goes to a worse place. What? Like he goes to a harder season? No, 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 no. I don't want the story of Elijah to like parallel my life. Yeah, like,
Well, and
please.
I'm glad you say that because it's important mentioning that we fantasize how our life is gonna go, and it's
We
when
wrote
we
a
start
story.
we love a good story, and we want our life to be
Yep.
full of these joys and desires, and naturally and God is so kind that they are a part of they're a piece of the story, but it's that commitment to the Lord of, "I will follow you no
Yeah.
matter what."
Yep.
If like, it is the even if
Yep.
kind of life of even if I don't get the husband, even if I don't get the healing, even if I don't get like it's because you went to the cross and you bared my death so I could live. And again, I understand how the spiritual bypassing aspect of that, how that doesn't bring tangible
Yeah.
comfort when
Yeah.
someone's in the pit of despair. I totally am compassionate to that.
Mm,
But it's being able to behold Jesus of knowing you alone are my reward and everything that's in this life is just the like
yeah. It's a
whatever.
moment. It's just a moment.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. Yep.
It's just like, am I gonna spend this one life I have just yearning for these dreams
Yeah.
and so distracted at how I want the story to go that
Hmm.
I'm not present to what the whisper of him,
Yeah.
you know?
Well, and the
And again, I
bridesmaids and their oil, right? I mean, what
yes.
am I going to be caught doing? And how much oil am I going to have? And, you know, the juxtaposition, I think when we were, was it last year, the year before, when we were in Dallas, recording and the other videos and talking.
Yeah.
Remember, we were like, I was leaning into just the sparrow and
I think of you every time I see a sparrow.
okay, well, so I recently was reading Psalm and there was like this part where it said, I think it was like
You voice memoed it
84,
to me.
something like
Yeah,
even the sparrow found a home and the swallow a nest within the temple altars. And I was like, hold on. So
I
that ugly
know. That
sparrow that
blessed
I
me.
was like talking about a year ago, that is a 2-for-1 deal that nobody wants in like the grossest parts of the markets on the outskirts of the town, the
Yep.
juxtaposition of a dirty sparrow making its home in the temple, that is so strategic and intentional for
Mm.
David to have even mentioned that, because it's tying into so many things about like, I've not only not forgotten the sparrow and I'm providing for the sparrow, but that sparrow is living in like the altars of the temples, like in a high place, positioned like next to the Lord. I mean, talk about all the other verses that tie into our position in Christ.
Joy for those who live in your house is
Yeah.
the direct next verse
Yeah.
from that.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Oh my
And
gosh, that
yeah,
whole psalm, people need to
totally.
press
80,
pause and
yeah,
go
84.
read
Was it
Psalm
84 or
84.
something? Yeah.
Yes, it's one of my favorite psalms.
Yeah.
It's like,
Yeah.
there's so much treasure in that,
Yep.
and there's depth there, but you're right. It's like, here I'm thinking I'm this little tiny sparrow of insignificance and lack
Yeah.
of value, but
Yep.
again, perfectly positioned near the altar
Yeah.
in the temple
Yeah.
where I get to sing praises.
Yep.
Like,
Well, and it's calling out to like the word. My mom always has us pick like a word for the year, and I'm sure a lot of people
totally.
do that. And I didn't have
Yeah.
one for this year, but midway through the year, I felt like the word that I was being given was distortion. And I was like, ooh, that's not how you pick a
You're like,
word.
I was thinking hope or
Distortion is my word. That's ugly. And it didn't register, but it just kept coming up. And I thought, finally, when wisdom finds you, you're like, my mind is distorted. My mind, right, has the cancer. And taking that seriously as we go back to the spider or the dragon fights, you would not stop at exterminating the worst of the worst, whatever the spider is or the dragon is or the cancer is to you. You would not stop
oh my goodness, 100%.
fighting to rid that of your home. Like you just
Yeah,
wouldn't, right? And
it's a big deal. Yeah.
I think too, the idea of like asking yourself, where are my toothpick legs?
Yeah.
Where is there distortion? Because the distortion then is going to literally drive me in directions that I don't want to go. And I had a counselor tell me before, like, hey, like, just can you get out of the back seat of your own car? Like, when are you going to replace whatever is
Wow.
driving the front, the steering wheel? And
That's
when are you going to
amazing.
put that girl in the back seat? Like, fine, keep
Mhm.
her in your car, but get
Yeah.
in the front seat and drive your car correctly,
Yeah.
right? Like,
Yeah.
what is driving your car? And again, you would never,
Wow.
as a mom, as a single, as a sister, as a friend, you would never just like
Mhm.
get in the back seat and say, hey, like, where this goes is where we go, friends, kids,
Yeah.
like, good
Yeah.
luck to all of us. Like, you would never, without intention and purpose, be steering your car in the right direction. And I just think we have to do that, right? We're going to
Yeah.
wonder, and my first questions will be to the Lord, like, tell me, explain yourself,
Yeah.
moments where let's review those sweet scenes of providence, where you withheld or all the words I want to use, and certainly I hope that that ugliness of me stays on earth somewhere and I'm not showing up to heaven with moments. But I do think that it's important to look at some of those stories. Look at the story of Ruth. Look at the story of Elijah. Read the Psalms. Be reminded
Mm.
of what we're likened to, even as sheep. If anyone's been to Ireland and you have truly gone and watched the sheep on the hillsides, which are the
They will
pastures,
go off of the cliff. They will walk right off the
they
cliff.
are the dumbest things you've ever seen. And you're just like,
Yeah.
that's me.
Yeah.
That is literally
Yeah.
me. And then they fall into the brook and their legs are up and they're on their back. And you're just like, okay, that's me. And then they get out and 2 seconds later, yep, there they are again and again and again and again. And I mean, there is a reason. Like, go take a little journey, like take yourself on a trip to Ireland and watch this
Mm.
happen. And
Well, people need to read, Philip Keller's Shepherd
yes,
Guide to Psalms 23. Just
yes,
the correlation, and that's why he says, "Sheep know my voice."
yeah,
It's also
yeah,
why he leaves 99 for one. The
yeah,
correlation, again, with sparrows and sheep and all this, he didn't use that on accident. He used it because there is a
yeah,
meaning behind it, right?
yeah,
And
yep,
it's so true. We are so prone to wander. If we are not anointed with oil as sheep are anointed with oil, they get infected with parasites.
yep,
There is a natural caring that the Lord does for our good. All of our lives sing a song, and the reality is your shadows and your pain and your delays are a huge part of the tension that allow your life to sing a
yeah.
song. And so allowing your life to be one long song unto the Lord, but what do you wish people would say to people in your season that it's like, "Hey, you're speaking to the loneliness, you're speaking to the ache. What do you wish you heard more
Yeah.
of?"
I don't know if it's always that I heard more. I mean, it's helpful when friends check in. It's helpful when you're not forgotten by your own community, your family. I was telling friends like who have even, my new 19-year-old friend, like it feels so good to be remembered, whether these
Mm,
go anywhere or never go anywhere,
I
right? We've all
relate to
been
that.
set up a million times, but it's like you were just remembered. That's it. You were just
It
remembered.
carries so much weight.
Yeah. Yep. So I think that's like one piece, is to be remembered. There's sensitivity, right, in that. And I think the same way, like, in a relationship, in a friendship, there's times where like you're coming to the table and you're saying, I got to share all this and unload and I'm sad or this or that. And someone might meet that with, okay, have you tried this, this, and this? And in the purest form of their heart, they're trying to help. Or, guys
100%.
always go to solve mode. And you're like, I don't need to solve. I
Yeah.
just need you to hug me. That's
Yeah.
all.
Yeah.
It's knowing what you need to in a moment to be able to help the community and your friends and your family. I don't know what I need. I think that's pretty common with a lot of people in many seasons, right? Sometimes we
I
really
agree.
just don't know what we need to hear, but it's being remembered, it's being included, it's being given different opportunities, right? Hey, I want you to come spend time with our family. I mean, thankfully, I have the best friends that I never feel like a third wheel. They've
Yeah.
always brought me in the mix. Like, even the gift of the husbands that have said to their wives, like, man, we have a full household and your role is going to be missed, but like, please go spend a weekend with
Mhm.
Chelsea and pour into her and love her. Like,
Yeah.
that gift, like, there can't put a price on some of those things. And so I think
I agree.
when you're involved in things, when you're included in things, when collective families in all seasons are pouring into you and including you,
Mm,
sometimes it's
yeah.
like with you, let's run errands, let's go to a soccer game. That's fine. I'll bring the
Yes.
snacks. We can chat through
Yeah,
all the
you're the best at
commotion.
that.
Well,
Yeah.
it's like, what other options do we have? I can stay at home and do that and be in my
Yeah.
covers again, but
Yeah.
I
Well,
do
I
think
think you're
those
really good
things.
at that. And I want to point that out to people. That's what I've always noticed in your life, how you've walked this desire is that you've always fixed your eyes on what God is giving you rather than what you do not have yet. And I think it's a discipline that you've had to daily say, Lord, show me what you're doing today. Show me the gifts and graces that you've invited me into today. I would encourage everyone listening, regardless of what it is you're hoping for, fix on the things you do have
Yeah.
and like
The daily
meditate on
bread,
them. The
I mean,
daily bread.
I was convicted more recently because, again, love making sourdough. I am like a kitchen lady through and through. But I would make like 4 loaves in a day and freeze all the loaves because why not? Never know. And I just remember there being
You're
a
so
day where I
cute.
pulled out the frozen loaf that, got all icy and was not fresh and good, just
Yes.
thinking, ew, I can't serve this. And just the impression and reminder of, I just promised daily bread. And there's a reason that doesn't say weekly bread or give us today, a monthly subscription of, rancher meats or give us our, yearly
Yeah.
subscription for clean sourdough bread. Like,
Yeah.
also, there's a freshness and the nutrients are in the daily fresh piece of bread, right? And so
Mhm.
even that, like sometimes all you can do is say like today, like just today,
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. Oh, that's so beautiful. Oh, well, if there are any beautiful bachelor men that are listening to this that are like,
Or too fast
dang, I like what I'm hearing. You know my email.
or new
I can hook it up.
friends. Yeah.
There you go.
Yeah.
Well, I love you. I
Yeah.
love
Friends.
the song that your life sings. I have watched you. I have held you in the shadows of you believing for something. I'm believing with you. And I love that you're not like there have been times where you've been weary for asking, but what I've seen over the years is you've continued to ask. And a lot of people will get so hard that they're like, I'm done. I'm done
Yeah.
asking. I'm just cleaning my hands of this, no more. And you have not faltered in that. You have been like, no, Lord, I know you can do this. Yesterday, the Lord, let's see, I wrote it down. He told me, hope is not proven by an outcome. It's practiced through endurance.
Yeah.
And there's an endurance to you, Chelsey, that just runs deep. So yeah, I hope people can hear that and just know, stay the course, following Jesus. The cost of what that looks like
Yeah.
is so costly, but you are doing it beautifully.
Thanks, Eves.
Isn't she remarkable? Chelsey is so wonderful. She has such depth to her. And I just know after listening to this conversation that you are walking away with deeper hope to just the nature of who God is. And so if you have a minute, it means the world if you are able to leave a comment or rate whatever platform you're listening to this podcast on. It does help, believe it or not, get into the ears of more people. And so yeah, it means the world if you take a second to do that. And so until next week on the Let Me Ask You This podcast, we will see you then.